For 3 years, we had to put up with this man as he proceeded to open his mouth and type on his keyboard, making absurd proclamations to his customers and insulting their intelligence. And of course, the customers are oblivious to his deceitfulness and opt to give him the praise and gratitude he demands but never truly deserves. Super Smash Bros. For Wii U and 3DS lead to a handful of misleading statements, excuses, and outright lies, and thanks to the increased exposure he's gotten from social media and other news and magazine outlets, his lies had multiplied while his audience lets these lies go unnoticed. For him to keep lying and making excuses really tells me that he's ashamed of telling the truth to his audiences, and considering that gamers want companies and personalities to be accountable for their actions, Sakurai for some reason is magically held to a different set of standards and can do no wrong, it seems. He's made a ridiculous amount of claims, most of which that I have already disproven, and I'd be glad to disprove again right here. Rather than try to nitpick and try to find every lie, however, I just comprised a top 10 list of his major ones. So let's start this list and count down from number 10. I never discussed this before, but apparently in February 2019, Sakurai went on to explain why the game's title is called Super Smash Bros. Special in Japan. He said this in February 2019. In Japan, the game is called Super Smash Bros. Special. The reason why the word special was used is because he wanted to convey that the game is a special game. As to why it isn't called Super Smash Bros. Ultimate in Japan, Sakurai says Ultimate is a word not very easy to read and distinguish in Japan. Another name that they could have went with was Super Smash Bros. Deluxe, which would have a similar meaning to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Sakurai decided against using deluxe as he wanted a word that is familiar to the Japanese. Special is often heard on television, so people are familiar with it. So here's the game's Japanese logo, and right away, you can already see something wrong here. The special subtitle is in English. Nowhere do you see the special line in katakana anywhere. So he wants to use a word that the Japanese are familiar with, but he decides against using katakana for it. There are many Japanese people that are fluent in English. I'm not going to rag on Sakurai if he's not one of them. He clearly isn't. But this tells me that he decided on a different name for the Japanese version because of his own familiarity with the English alphabet, as special is a word he knows and ultimate isn't. Because many games in Japan have used the word ultimate before in video games. It's so awkward for him to have television on his mind when thinking of the name of his video game when his product isn't focused on TV viewers. Even Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. Did Sakurai completely skip this game because it has a word in the title that he doesn't know? So Sakurai loved to brag about doing extensive research on each character. He gloats about making the most accurate and most authentic looking characters fans will ever see. Except, not always. In fact, he got a few important things about various characters wrong. And some of them are Mario characters, if you can believe it. Luigi, for example, does not have a spastic, haphazard personality. He had always been a cowardly trope as early as 1992. Diddy Kong's hat and shirt are not meant to be the same color. His shirt is actually supposed to be more orange. 6 of the 8 Fire Emblem characters have a symbol on their capes that aren't even present in their original games. And when you stare at them for long enough, they look really out of place. Their capes honestly look so much better without them. Same with Wario. The back design on his vest is not supposed to be there, nor does it even make sense. Finally, Wolf. A character that Sakurai has never used a pre-existing design for. And the thing is, had Sakurai not constantly strutted his stuff on his own high horse, I wouldn't even care about these things. But because he does this, I see it as just another claim he makes out of thin air to get the hardcore Smash community on his side. And to nobody's surprise, it works. So after the coronavirus spread across the world in late 2019 and caused the world to force restrictions en masse in 2020, practically the only person that was happy about this was Sakurai. Here's an excerpt of what he said in his Famitsu column in March 2020. On the topic of game development, we've been recommended to work from home in an attempt to avoid crowds on the way to work. Ordinary business workers don't work with classified material that cannot leave their businesses though. Well, that's not true. You're not an ordinary business worker. We can't afford moving our development equipment, so we really can't continue business from home. Why not? What did you need to move besides computer equipment? Your statues of Pyra and Mithra? Your toy Minecraft sword? Is there some large sculpture of a naked Sora in his office? What am I missing? It's not hard to put things in your car, especially when you only have to take your own equipment out and clear out your desk. And, with children at home, we unfortunately need to take breaks to keep an eye on them. I can't imagine for the life of me seeing this guy have real children. I wouldn't even trust him to babysit children. My business trips have also been restricted by the influence of the novel coronavirus. Long-distance trips have been especially difficult to put together. For example, my trips to Nintendo in Kyoto. Trips to other companies have been problematic too. Planning new fighters, presenting to publishers, and having meetings have all been indefinitely postponed. But you said the moment you announced a Fighters Pass 2 that all the characters were finalized, you liar.
Like last time, the contents will remain unknown for now, and I'm personally very sorry that we have to release Fighters Pass Volume 2 when the details have yet to be revealed. Furthermore, the new additions have already been decided. Even if I receive many requests regarding potential candidates on Twitter, I'm afraid it would be very hard to consider them.
But, if more problems arise, I wonder if our offices might also be closed to prevent the spread of the virus. If that becomes the case, development would stop completely. New fighter announcements would be delayed, and planned development would stop progressing, which would put us in a potentially difficult situation. Well, apparently none of this ever happened. If he really thought he wouldn't be able to continue the project at home, how did this guy get to be hired as a director in the first place? Does he really think that indie games like Undertale are worked on in some corporate office setting? Or maybe he's under the assumption that his high-tech equipment won't be able to work in his living room or guest room. I'm just trying to wrap my head around why the location of the equipment determines whether you can make a game or not. He's either that stupid, or he just wants to draw more sympathy towards him. Not only has our development been affected, our foreign affairs like our distribution, sales, and manufacturing have been stagnating. It's going to cost us our resources. Nothing of the sort has happened unless you're trying to assemble products with new microchips. Is Sakurai making a new console with a new microchip like the PS5? He probably needs those chips for something else, I guess. For the time being, we are proceeding without any problems. However, we're only developing DLC at the moment. It would have been very difficult to develop Super Smash Bros. Ultimate early on if we were in this situation. And guess who's developing Multiversus? This guy is a fucking diva. So far, our telework has been quite successful. There are many staff who should be commended for their work. I always rat on this guy for not commanding other members of his team, but how come he never talks about any specific people? Who works with this guy? He never says. The only other people he ever mentions are people that are more known in the industry than he is. Iwata, Nomura, Harada. Of course he's not going to give appreciation to somebody he thinks is smaller than him. Of course, there is no time needed for commuting. Some were commuting 2 hours one way. This is much more effective, right? Solution: get an apartment so you live closer to your workplace. So, what are my first impressions of telework? First, the air is much cleaner. Busy offices usually have dirty air. Solution: get out of the dirty city. If you can't do that, get a purifier. The heater always made me sweat every day too. Solution: turn the heater off. Or if you need to stay warm, adjust the heater or get a new one. But, in your own room, you can be as comfortable as possible. You can control both the temperature and humidity. So it's only in your home where you can adjust the temperature. Must be some weird Japanese law. Furthermore, there's an advantage to seeing natural light. The office had many windows, but we had to close them for secrecy. I know I addressed this once before, but what kind of building does he work in? Shouldn't he work in a multi-story building? If you complained before about working in the city, I'd have to think you're working in a tower in which the first story is reserved for the lobby. So what sorts of daredevils are climbing skyscrapers to peek into your office? This is just really weird. My Shiranui was one character that did not appear at all with the Terry Bogard fighter pack. It makes no sense. Sakurai's excuse is that she is too raunchy for the game. He went on to clarify further that the Zero Ratings board would not allow her in the game without the game's rating changing. And even then, he was extremely vague about what he tried to do, or what was it about Mai that made her too raunchy. If you're somebody that actually fell for this pitiful, despicable excuse, God have mercy on you. So this is the guy that went out of his way to make Bayonetta a playable fighter. So what rating did Zero give both Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2? A fucking D. D. 3 grades higher than A. Basically the equivalent to the ESRB's M rating. This is intelligence insulting. I don't care that Mai was just going to be a background character, he's insulting your intelligence. Sakurai thinks his fans just forget about what he previously said or showed off even months ago. Bayonetta had been altered. Even Mithra and Pyra had been altered. Concessions were made, and Sakurai was not shy to tell us when he did. And that's not even it. What about Shantae? She's wearing nothing but a tube top. How come that's appropriate, but not the outfit that Mai wears? Would you mind guessing what's the Zero rating for Shantae games in Japan? Wow, look at that. B. As in, baffling. Bewildering. Incredible. Outrageous. Unacceptable. You get it by now. So let's go back to Mai. Has she been altered? Can she be toned down if Zero had a problem with her for whatever reason? Yeah. She absolutely can. So, what really happened? Previously, I came to an assumption that Sakurai just forgot about Mai, and it wouldn't surprise me if this turned out to be the actual conclusion. Sakurai claims that he buys figures for every character on the roster so they can look at the character while building the model. Sorry, I don't buy it. And he couldn't have picked a worse example of this too. So if you've watched the Sakurai Direct with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 characters, he said this. After it's been decided that a character will join this game as a fighter, I often purchase 3D figures like these and share them with our modeling team as reference material. Both those figures together cost over $200 at the time in which this presentation came out. I'm not talking about the replicas you can find on Etsy or Amazon. I'm talking about the large, high-detailed, high-quality ones. But here's why I call his bluff on this claim. Because he's Sakurai. He works for Nintendo. Why is he paying hundreds of dollars on statues just to make sure 2 characters look accurate? Why can't he instead just ask for 3D models that you can view on a computer? I don't get this. I mean, during the same presentation, he said he collaborated with Monolith Soft to come up with the trailer.
実は唯一私が考えていないムービーなんですね。参戦ムービーはいつも私が台本を書くところからスタートします。その土台に CG 会社さんやアニメ会社さんと組んで作ることが多いのですが、今回の CG パートは最初の構成からモノリスソフトさんに一任しています。ゼノブレード2をプレイした時、その実機ムービーの質量、そして完成度に驚きました。そしてモノリスソフトさんに委ねるのが何よりであろうと考えたわけです。おかげで原作のリソースも豊富で、原作との
So they can create this video for him, but they can't give him character models? And that's not even the cherry on top here. In 2014, Sakurai gloated on Miiverse how Ubisoft was very generous to give him 3D character models of Rayman characters. Pick of the day. In order to make Rayman's trophy, we asked Ubisoft to share their references. We were expecting to receive 2D drawing references for Rayman, but to our surprise, they sent us data of a brand new 3D model that they rendered for this game. And that was how this trophy was created. It takes a lot of work creating each model, so it's wonderful that the creators contributed their own efforts. So again, how come they can get free assets from Ubisoft, but not from one of Nintendo's own studios? There's only one explanation, because they're not meant for designing characters, they're Sakurai's own figures which he bought for himself. And why would he show them to us? Simply to let us know how much of a fanboy he is. Just like that controller that you can't buy anymore, he makes it so obvious of which characters he really wanted in Smash Brothers. Him contemplating retirement and such is nothing new. He always says, this could be the last Smash Bros. Game. But this time, he's wanted to make it clear that he's the only one that can direct the series. He runs the company, he owns every single IP, he's basically playing God here. He's said this last time how Super Smash Bros. For Wii U could have been the last game, and he immediately starts working on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. But here are some snippets on his thoughts, or rather bullshit statements about the future of the series. I can't see any way to produce Smash Bros. Without me. To be honest, I'd like to leave it to someone else. Then do it. Leave it to somebody else. What's stopping you? You're not the only person on Earth that can hold such a job. In fact, you happen to be the most unfit, least qualified for the job, who was supposed to just make a fighting game with an original IP. But then, he had that realization that without Mario and friends, his game wouldn't make money. So where along the way did having recognizable character no longer matter? This philosophy has never changed. And I've actually tried that, but it hasn't worked out. What is this guy talking about? Of course he refused to elaborate further. Unless he's talking about the Kirby series, he's never even given anyone else a chance to be in charge of a Smash Bros. Product. Nintendo announced that Super Smash Bros. Brawl would release for the Wii without Sakurai. They had to ask Sakurai if he was willing to be on board. So whether Sakurai's part of the project or not, he has no say in the future of the series. I need to think about whether we should release another Smash Bros. Game, at the risk of disappointing the users. Does he really need to think about it? And why him? What makes him think that the decision is ultimately up to him? Sorry, Sakurai, you don't own Nintendo. Just because you had an interview with Iwata years ago doesn't mean you're the heir to the entire company once he passed away. It's not up to him whether or not there's a new game. If Smash Bros. Continues in the future, then there's no way this many fighters and series can be represented again. Now, I can see why he would make this claim. This statement made his fans nuts, as they started to go off and say that no other man like Sakurai can obtain the rights to so many characters. Well, that's not even true. But this got me to thinking that Sakurai always makes these statements for one of two reasons. The first being, he wants his fans to fear a possibility of somebody else being in charge of the Smash Bros. Product. Because without a doubt, if there was a new director, he would do many things differently. And Sakurai would want you to think that he wouldn't do the job as good. Oh, the gameplay isn't as fun. The characters don't look as authentic. I don't resonate with these new characters. I want Sakurai back. Manipulation is no stranger to Sakurai. The second reason is he wants to give his audience the assumption that topping Smash Bros. Ultimate is impossible. There's just no way we can have this many characters and have this much content in a game ever again. He bragged about the work he did with Steve. He bragged about the work he did with Kazuya. He bragged about making Byleth fun to play. Any chance he gets, he wants to make it seem like he's moved a mountain, so you treat him like he's completely irreplaceable. So that when there is a new Smash Bros. Game, and he does top the work that was done on Ultimate, he gets treated like he's some hero. But in all seriousness, that's just the nature of video games. When there's a sequel to a fighting game, things get added, as minimal gets taken away. And essentially, Sakurai wants to be treated like a god for it. But if you've obtained the rights to these companies before, then you certainly can do so another time. The real question is, would you want to? Characters like Pac-Man, Sonic, Mega Man, you need those real icons to ensure consumers keep buying the game. Would it be worth it to get these niche characters like Banjo, Bayonetta, and Sora? And the answer is clearly no. There is nothing the product has gained by purchasing the rights for unessential characters. These fanboys that clamor for these characters will still spend all the money for every single piece of content there is. So don't waste your money. In fact, don't even waste your time. Just leave the product and your replacement can show you how to sell it. There are still requests from all over the world for new fighters in Smash. So what? You said before that your goal was to choose characters that could help sell the game. Now here you're saying the goal is to choose characters that the consumers you already have want. So would you rather try expanding your fanbase, or do you instead want to just cling onto the fanbase that's never going to stop supporting you? If both options involve a big fiscal investment, why would you refuse to cater to the fans that have more money to give you? Because this whole requests BS is an excuse just for him to choose the characters he personally wants. You can't convince me that Sakurai would consider an Assassin's Creed character if fans begged for one. He doesn't play the series, so all the recognition it deserves, in his mind, is a participation trophy. If we continue the series, Nintendo and I need to discuss and seriously consider how to make it a success. No, they don't. If you want it to be a success, then step down. Go ahead and make your Fire Emblem dating sim. The fact of the matter is, so long as the series keeps selling hardware, there's going to be another Smash Bros. Game. If you can't see it coming, then you haven't been paying attention to sales figures. Oh, what a coincidence, who else doesn't pay attention to sales figures? But let's say Nintendo executives and Sakurai did get together to consider what can be done to make another successful game. How would that conversation go? The first thing that Kazumi or Furukawa would say is, did you really pay Square Enix again for more Final Fantasy characters? They don't do business like Sakurai does business. As much as Sakurai tries to tell us otherwise, these are not people that play video games in their spare time and swoon over RPGs. At the end of the day, their job is to make the company money. It's asinine to think that these guys wouldn't want another Smash Bros. Game for their next console. So the future of Smash Bros. While bleak, it's not going to start and stop with Sakurai. Suppose Eiji Aonuma retired. Would they go, oh no, the person in charge of our Zelda games has retired. We don't know what to do. Zelda is cancelled forever. No, they hire somebody new. That's what happened with Kirby. Either Sakurai doesn't think, or he expects his fans to not think. Square Enix. That's it. That's the lie. Now I was to talk solely about his story about how he couldn't get the rights to more than 2 music tracks. Because since the beginning, he actually had the rights to at least 5. But as more time has passed, the more bullshit following that began to unravel. Let me just say right now that Square Enix is not the licensing nightmare that Sakurai leads you to believe. You can buy Final Fantasy VII DLC in Little Big Planet 2. Final Fantasy XIV related items in PSO2. Noctis, in addition to a stage and many different Final Fantasy XV characters in Tekken 7. So even before Super Smash Bros. Ultimate came out, you have 3 different games that feature multiple Final Fantasy characters and likenesses. Why is it that Sega, Namco, Sony, even Epic Games and Ubisoft, they can use as much content they need, but God King Sakurai can't? It just makes him look so incompetent. That's just so bizarre. Depending on the topic at hand, Sakurai is either the most capable, Herculean man you've ever met, or he's the fussiest little schmuck that complains when something is too hard for him. So, how come up until Sephiroth was announced, how come Sakurai couldn't use the rights to more than one Final Fantasy character if other games could? And here's your answer, he was bullshitting. Yes. He had access to use more character likenesses to make more content. He just decided not to. This was done by design. Having only 3 Final Fantasy tracks was done on purpose. Having no Square Enix items or assist trophies was done on purpose. Having no Square Enix spirits was done on purpose. This was all done so that he could artificially create a demand for this kind of content. You know why? So this gluttonous piece of garbage could justify getting a second playable character from the same series. A character he should know is just going to waste money. Another character from the same third-party series does not do anything for the product. But fuck it, because I'm Sakurai. So, you mean to tell me that you first got Cloud in 2015, but you couldn't get the rights to anything more than that in 2018? No, you needed until 2020 and you conveniently got Sephiroth as a playable character as a result from it. What an absolutely absurd thing to do, all because this man wasn't satisfied just for having Cloud as a playable character. No, that wasn't enough. I'm going to lump these 3 characters into one space on the top 10 because they're all characters that Sakurai chose not to make into playable characters for whatever reason. And they're all basically excuses. It's obvious Min Min is a playable character because of Kosuke Ibuki. We all know Kazuya is a playable character because Sakurai wanted the true essence of Tekken and then proceeds to use a projectile in every match. We all know Pyra and Mithra are playable characters because he has a fetish for sword waifus. Let's not even mention his horrible technical limitations excuse, since he already dismissed the possibility of Rex before the game even came out and the DLC was being worked on. If you want to see my video on Rex anyway, you can check it out on the upper right section of this video. And the same thing with Spring Man and Tahachi. Their Mii outfits released at least a year before other characters from their series became playable characters. These were characters disregarded long before DLC was even planned because Sakurai knew what he wanted right at the start. This shouldn't be hard to understand. And then he changes his story later on, as if he never deconfirmed these characters at all and was really considering them.
Whether or not the character is fun to play as is more important than whether the character is new or old, or whether the character is recognizable to everyone.
You're kidding, right? First you say you need recognizable characters to win over new customers, then you say you need characters that your current customers beg for. Now you say you need fun characters above characters that customers resonate with. I've been trying to be polite, but what the fuck is wrong with this guy? He's said 3 completely different things on what to look for in a character. To whoever defends this man to no end, please help me piece this all together and convince me how all these statements he is making coincides with one another. He is a fraud. He is no different from a politician that says whatever he needs to get people to support him. But just talking about this statement alone, this is literally one of the most irrational things that Sakurai has ever said. He had to have said this without even thinking. When he says it's more important to have characters that are fun, you have to ask him what is fun. Fun is something you can't measure. It's completely subjective. We all have different tastes. We all have different ideas of what fun is. So what makes Sakurai the ultimate decider of that? Why this is so high up on this list is because he comes off like a dictator. He may not mean to be so authoritative, but he really had the gall to say this on video to millions of consumers and tell them, I'm the measuring stick on what's fun. It doesn't matter what you think is fun. If you're not entertained by what entertains me, then you're a loser. Who is he of all people to tell us what is fun to us? When he says how fun characters are important, that's basically his way of saying I'm going to choose the characters I want and only my opinions matter and nobody else's. You have to wonder, how do you think series like Assassin's Creed, Resident Evil, and Tomb Raider have been able to get movies and not good all fun Fire Emblem or Xenoblade or Bayonetta? Simply because there are millions of consumers who see these series as fun. Yes. There are plenty more people that find certain games more worthwhile than others. And here Sakurai says that their interests don't matter, and his does. That is a very easy way to lose money, and Sakurai before has stated that DLC sales have waned as time goes on. Sakurai can make Byleth the SOP superhero that can create mushroom clouds and walk on water. It doesn't matter much in the grand scheme of things, because it's not a character that outsiders resonate with. If his plan was to use a character, like Byleth, to win over Resident Evil fans, that couldn't be a better analogy of trying to fit a square peg inside a round hole. They didn't care, Sakurai. Now what? You want to try another Fire Emblem character? Now, this might be related to the previous lie on this list, but it deserves its place as the biggest lie Sakurai has ever told during the development of Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for a number of reasons. Let me start off by saying, he's lied about DLC characters before. He launched an online poll to vote on who they want as a character for Super Smash Bros. For Wii U. The result was Bayonetta, though years later, data miners discovered that Sakurai had started to put Bayonetta data in the game just weeks after the ballot first started. If this were an election, then Sakurai secretly declared a winner while people were still waiting in line to vote. That should really infuriate people. So, if he lied back then, I don't find it wrong to doubt him again. He's first made this claim on November 2018, and I've yet to see anybody at Nintendo come forward to confirm this claim. As a matter of fact, Reggie said something completely contradictory at the Game Awards in 2018, where he sounded like Sakurai, and his team was fully responsible for the DLC. When Byleth was revealed as the sixth fighter, I could fully cement my stance that these were Sakurai's decisions all this time. Nothing has changed with how the characters have been chosen. Just like with Smash Bros. For Wii U, the DLC is replete with characters from RPGs and fighting games, and the rest are characters that Sakurai goes out of his way to let us know he's a big fan of. Who is he trying to fool here? Each time he's announced a Fire Emblem character for DLC, he immediately absolved himself of responsibility for it, insisting that putting a character in Smash Bros. Magically helps the game's sales. Like, oh, this dog is dressed up as Tails, so I guess I better buy Sonic colors now. Now couple that with the ludicrous claim that Nintendo executives picked such character, and nothing adds up at all. If you can observe Switch software sales, you can see just how many titles have sold incredibly well for Nintendo. Even good old Fire Emblem Three Houses is still a ways off from surpassing 1-2 Switch, though Fire Emblem did sell over 3 million. Nintendo's making over $10 billion each year from these products, which begs the question. Why would they care so much to intervene with Smash Bros. DLC? Maybe Sakurai doesn't know this, but Nintendo has what's called a marketing team. Marketing is the only way that Nintendo brings awareness to consumers regarding new games. Having a guest character in Smash Bros. Does not do that. I've proven that. Byleth as a character had no impact on Fire Emblem Three Houses sales. So with that said, if Nintendo made $13.4 billion, and among that, Fire Emblem generated $8.8 million of that money, what percentage is that? I'll tell you right away, that is a very small sliver. So is that 2%? Is that 1%? Is that a half percent? No. Fire Emblem Three Houses only made up 0.0065% of Nintendo's total income in 2020. Yeah, they totally wanted Byleth and Smash Bros. Alright. They certainly knew what they were doing. So did Smash Bros. Help sell Fire Emblem? The answer is clearly no. Sakurai is just bullshitting per usual. Smash Bros. Is not a marketing tool. If I were on Sakurai's team spending 3 years to work on his game, how well that some other game sells would be the last thing on my mind. The point of a guest character, in this instance, is selling Smash Bros. When a character is announced, outsiders are supposed to purchase Smash Bros. And let's not ignore when he said how Iwata's dying wish, after struggling to get the company back on track, was to get Sora in Smash Bros. Incredibly awful and tasteless. Sakurai is garbage. And there you have it. It's crazy to this think guy that loves the spotlight happens to get away with just so much. And the funny thing is that I would never suspect him of lying at all had he just decided to shut his mouth and work on his game like any normal director. And he also made a claim that he's helping to make Kirby in the Forgotten Land. But I too have doubts about this. Right, not he only wants to be associated with this game since it actually looks good. If by chance he is working on this game, he's probably just a creative consultant. So will there be another Smash Bros. Game? Of course there will. Is Sakurai going to direct it? Right now I say yes, and that's such a disappointment. Stay tuned for more Super Smash Bros. Videos including ideas I have for a definite sequel.